All right. Well, David, welcome to the 20-something podcast.
Thanks. My name is David Olit. I am one of the co-founders of Supreme Nutrition. I started first business when I was 26. Our minds are so strong. Like, you all love what you do and who you do it with.
Yeah.
You could start right now.
Yeah.
Everything changes.
All right. Well, David, welcome to the 20-something podcast.
Thanks.
I will kind of let you take the reins and give your little elevator pitch, like who you are, what you do, and then we'll take it back to your 20s.
Sure. Yeah. So my name is David Olit. I am one of the co-founders of Supreme Nutrition. I started my first business when I was 26, and it was in the similar industry. So Supreme Nutrition, we are a retail supplement, vitamin, brick and mortar nutrition stores. We have 6 locations right now, and started my first one when I was 26, sold that in 2020, COVID hit, and then shortly after we started Supreme.
Okay.
So
Very cool.
yeah.
So, all right, let's take it back. Wherever you want to start in your 20s, sometimes people start, like if they went to college, they start there or right at 20, but kind of walk me through that.
Yeah, so I'm from Southern California originally.
Oh, okay.
So I grew up in LA in a town called Redondo Beach. And where I went to school was called Chico State. So it's like Northern California.
Okay.
And big party school. I partied a lot in college.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure most young 20, 21, people do.
Yeah.
It's normal. When I got out of college, went into the corporate world, into sales, and learned a lot about rejection and what that looks like, and was lucky enough to have like some really, really strong mentors for me in my early 20s in those jobs, and taught me a lot. But I mentioned the party thing because I would like work really hard during the week, and I was good at my jobs, whichever job I worked in, but I would always like look forward to the weekends and like go out on the weekends and like go out and party. You're hungover Sunday,
Yeah.
do it again. And it's like a cycle. And it took me up until I was like 24 to 25-ish to really peel that back and focus more on my career. And I wish I had done that sooner, because once I started doing that, like physically I got in better shape. Mentally I was like more focused. I was better at my job. And that led me to like progressing in my career and like getting, positions at like even better companies. Like as I moved up I was in the logistics industry.
Okay.
So, but yeah, I mean, like in my early 20s, like going into sales, like rejection's like so hard when you're young. You're like, man, this is like really difficult. And, you have to like shift your mindset and just look at it as like almost like it's like fun. It's a game. There's nothing wrong with you. It's like their loss if they're rejecting you, and just move on and just, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Is that what you went to school for? And was that the plan?
So a lot of people think like I probably studied health and nutrition and stuff.
Right.
And I actually I was originally a business major.
Okay.
Got an F in accounting.
Nice.
It was really hard for some reason. I'm a math guy.
Yeah.
So it was really difficult. So I had a professor in econ. His name was Pete Chernos. He was the man. And I remember I had like 7 classes. I specifically like got his classes because he was so cool. First econ class ever. I'm a freshman. And he's like, how many of you guys out there drink Keystone Light, which was like the beer like back when I was in school, because it's like the cheapest.
Yeah.
And like half the class raises their hand. He's like, okay, cool. How many of you guys drink Jack Daniels? And a few other people raise their hand. He goes, so we're talking about commodities, alcohol or commodities, and those are substitutes. You're either buying one or the other based on price, demand, supply. He goes, I'm not a cuss word. And he goes, I take shots of my Jack Daniels and chase it with my beer. When you use commodities together, those are compliments. And I was like, this guy is freaking awesome. I was like, I like econ. I could do this.
Okay.
Straight A's. Just crushed it. So yeah, so I majored in econ, and I think that most people would say their college degrees, you don't really use them in the real world, which is probably mostly true.
Yeah.
I think for college it's mostly like learning how to network and learning how to socialize but still be productive and get good grades, and but for me I think econ actually like transcends into my real work life to this day. And it's been really beneficial.
Yeah. Yeah. I think even if you go down like a science route in school or something like that, I think business classes are so important for people to take at least a couple. Like I didn't take any. So everything that I do with the podcast, I'd like have to go learn on my own. Like I have a health science degree, which is great for personal training and nutrition stuff. But anything else, I'm like, well, I'm shit out of luck. So
when you interview such a wide range of people, and so you have to have like in-depth conversations about all these topics. And so it's like, yeah, it's impressive.
Yeah. I was like, I have a guest coming on in a couple weeks in an industry I'm not super familiar with. And I had to ask my sister, who's familiar with that, is like, I need you to help me. Like, I'm so interested in this, but I don't know the right questions to ask. I don't know what the right things to do. And like that part would be more helpful if I would have done a broader thing in school. So I always tell people like, you have to take certain electives. So like take different things so you can learn different avenues.
For sure. And like I said, I think it's one of those things where you're socializing, you're partying, you're networking, but then you also have to be responsible and like get good grades and like be efficient. And so it's like balancing those two. And it's funny, growing up in LA, I had a lot of friends that like went to, USC, UCLA, Stanford, like really prestigious schools. And then you have like San Diego State, big party school, Chico State, which is like the Northern California version of San Diego State. Yeah. And like all these party schools, and everyone that went to like the more social schools ended up being way more successful, believe it or not. Because of, I think when you learn how to balance both, because that's really what the real world is. It's kind of all about who you know and how you network and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. So going out of school into sales then, did you, like, how did that transpire into like where you're at now? And you were in California, obviously we're in South Carolina now. So what was that process post-grad?
Yeah, so post-grad, my first job was a really interesting job. So my sister is very, very like successful and lives in a great area. And so her neighbor was really wealthy. And he had this job in Beverly Hills where he would like sell to law firms. And it was just like copying and scanning documents, really boring, but made millions. Yeah. And so he didn't have anyone that worked under him. And I met him at a barbecue right after I graduated college. And I was like, right after the economy collapsed, I graduated in 2010. So there wasn't a lot of jobs out there. So he was like, I'll hire you. Yeah. And so in Beverly Hills, when you sell to law firms, the decision maker that I was selling to was paralegals. And so if you looked online or in the yellow pages, it was, they only listed like the attorneys, not the paralegals. So you had to get really creative because you can't just walk in. There's security and you either have to have an appointment or make a delivery. Yeah. So I would call, and I told this story in every interview for the rest of my career. And this is how I never didn't get a this after the story. This is a really good one. Okay. So every sales job I got because of this story. So I would, and it's true. So I would call the law firm because I need the decision makers, the paralegal. So the secretary would pick up and I'd say, hey, this is John with Now Messenger Service. I have a package that's supposed to be delivered to the paralegal for Mr. Smith, but unfortunately our system's gone down. I just need a first name to make delivery. Oh yeah, his paralegal's Rebecca. Cool. And I would do this all day and I would get all the first names of these paralegals. And then I would go to C's Candy and I would buy these peanut brittle bars and I would tape my business card to them and I'd put them in an envelope and I'd say to Rebecca. And then I'd spend the next day walking to every law firm, going to security and saying, hey, I have a delivery for Rebecca. They'd call up. Is there Rebecca on the phone? Okay, yeah, let them up. I'd go in, drop the package off and leave. I wouldn't be creepy or anything. I would just leave it. But now they received it, right? Yeah. Then the next day, I would call, I'd know who I would drop it off to, and I'd call them, and I would be myself. And I'd say, hey, this is David from Summit. I'm calling for Rebecca. 9 out of 10 times they pick up the phone. Hello? I'd be like, hey, this is David from Summit. I dropped off the business card and candy yesterday. I just want to talk to you for a few minutes. You have a couple minutes? And they'd be like, yeah, what is this about? Oh, my God. And every time would like get an appointment and just crushed it. And it was awesome. So it was a grind, but it was. Did
you come up with that idea on your own?
Yeah.
That's so creative.
Because after just getting like rejected, like they won't let you in, Yeah. I was like, I gotta just like drop them off like candy or something. I don't know.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I can imagine you didn't have a hard time with jobs after that.
So did that for 2 years. And then after that, I was actually at a restaurant with one of my friends on a Friday night, a Greek restaurant in my hometown. We were going out to the bars and we were just getting, food before, and we're on our phones texting. And this guy, this older man and his wife look at us and they go, "You guys better not be texting yourselves. Come on, have a conversation. Jeez." And like just talking smack to us. And I was like, "Actually, we're texting a girl to like go out." And so he was like really like just giving us a hard time and ended up being really friendly. Asked what we do. I told him this story that I just told you. This is how I do my job. And he goes, "I want to hire you. I'm the CEO of a logistics company. Like, would you be interested in working somewhere else?" I was like, "I mean, I'm open to it." He's like, "Come in next week for an interview. I'm going to hire you." And that's how I got into logistics, was just being open and talking to like a random stranger.
Yeah. I love that you said that, because that's one of my favorite things that I've learned and try to implement is just talking to people. You just don't know what opportunities are out there. You got to open yourself up to that. And like you said, you learned a lot about rejection. It's okay if you it's not personal, if you go talk to somebody and they're like not interested, but you never know like when you're going to meet that person. And then it's like, poof, this spirals into something so much bigger.
Yeah. And, with my first company, it was called 5 Star Nutrition. So in Chico, on the topic of like just talking to everyone, being friendly to everyone. I was in Sigma Chi was the fraternity I was in. I had friends in every fraternity, friends that weren't in fraternities, and the way I got involved with my first company was I was in Mexico with my parents, and I walked into the same hotel. I see these guys who I was like kind of friends with in college. They were in a different fraternity. They were on a bachelor party, and I just happened to walk in the hotel at the same time. So luck.
Yeah.
But then you have luck mixed with putting yourself out there, talking to everyone. And I walked up to them and I was like, "Oh my God, like I haven't seen you guys since college. Like, how's it going?" They're like, "Oh, well, we started like a supplement company. We've got, I don't know, I think they have like 9 or 10 stores, 12 stores." And I was like, "Wait, you guys literally just have supplement stores and just sell and work out all day and just sell supplements and have fun?" They're like, "Yeah, pretty much. It's awesome." I was like, "That's sick. Like, I want to do that." And so, that put myself out there. And so luck was being at that place at the right time, but then putting yourself out there, being friendly to everyone, talking to people, gets you that opportunity.
Yeah. Did you know you wanted to be an entrepreneur, business owner before then, or what sparked that?
I really didn't at all. So I knew that I was built for sales. Both my parents were in sales. My dad had a clothing company that he had for 40 years. That was really successful. Sold it in Nordstrom, Bloomingdale's.
Wow.
So like seeing that success my whole life, and my mom's just like a natural saleswoman too. She had like a homemade jewelry company. So like growing up, it was like my dad had women's clothing, my mom had jewelry. I was like every girl's dream for like birthday gifts. Like I'd go to my mom's office and be like, "I need a gift for Tori." And she's like, "Here you go."
Nice.
Like, "Here's a necklace."
So
like just friends, not even girlfriends.
Right.
But no, I didn't know that I wanted to be that. So it just kind of happened because the last company I worked for before becoming an entrepreneur and getting involved with this was a logistics company that I was really happy with working at in LA, had a comfortable position, had the best mentor of my life, who is still my mentor to this day. And he just taught me so much about leadership in general. But the company had asked me to start helping do sales for them in San Francisco. The people that were running the San Francisco facility were not doing well. They were losing several $100,000 a month because of all the costs and everything, and the building, and just the sales were down. So at first it started with me picking up the phone, and because it's supposed to be in person. I was making more sales over the phone than the people on the ground in person. So then they would fly me up once a month. Then they would fly me up once every 2 weeks. Then they would fly me up every week. And so it'd be like I would be in San Francisco from Monday to Thursday, and then fly back, work in LA Friday, have the weekend at the beach, and then rinse and repeat for like 8 months. So they spent so much money on me flying up there, hotels. So finally they asked me to move there. And I said to my director, I said, I want you to come over for dinner. So I came over for dinner. I was like, I live across the street from the beach, right? I surf every morning. My parents live 15 minutes away. I'm 4 blocks from all the bars and all the fun. I was like, but I will run through walls for this company, and I will move to San Francisco, which I don't like, and I'll just do it. And basically did that for about 6 months until they fired me.
Really?
Yeah. So they fired me there. No severance. I'm 25 at the time.
Just out of the blue fired you?
Just out of the blue. And if I can give anyone advice for if you are young and you have to move for a job or relocate, one of my biggest mistakes, I think at that time was, I grew up at the beach and we would play volleyball every day and surf and stuff. And I was, I never fully embraced the new city that I moved to. I constantly compared it to home. And so mentally, our minds are so strong. Like I didn't allow myself to be happy or accept the new circumstance that I was in. I just constantly compared it to home.
Yeah.
And that was one of the biggest lessons that I didn't even realize I was learning at the time. Because after that, when I did start my first company, I had to move to Louisiana. I had never left really California or the West Coast. And I mean, you're like like the South is not something that you think about when you live on the West Coast, especially when you're young.
Yeah.
So from that experience, I was like, when I was driving out there, I was like, I love Louisiana. I can't wait to be here. I'm going to wake up every day and I freaking love this place. Like if someone invites me to do something, bass fishing, 4-wheeling in the mud, eat some crawfish, some alligator, I'm going to say yes. Heck yeah, I can't wait.
Yeah.
And that's what I said to myself, and I loved it. And now Louisiana is probably one of my favorite states in the country. Cool. Yeah, the people there are incredible.
Yeah.
I had the best time. And so our minds are so powerful.
Yeah.
And if you can just shift your mindset on whatever it is that you're like nervous about or scared to do, you'd be surprised at like how much that can help. Sorry, I'm like going off on a tangent.
No, it's okay. I like that. I was literally thinking about that this morning because I'm from Wisconsin. I'm not from here. I've lived here for like a year. And I did the same thing. Like I didn't even realize I was doing it, but like the first 6 months of living here, I got way out of my routine and way out of everything that I like knew about myself, because new place, new circumstances. And I was like, oh, I'm not who I was when I lived in Wisconsin. I don't like this. I'm blah, 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 blah. I'm not happy. And finally I was like, well, because you're not that person. You don't live in Wisconsin anymore. You're not that person anymore. So if you keep holding on to that, you're never gonna find who you are here. You're never gonna be happy here because you're stuck back there. Like take the pieces of that you loved and grow them here, but stop like holding on to all of that, because that's just gonna take away so much opportunity and like amazing things you can experience where you're at right now, type of thing.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, it sounds so simple, but it's so true. Like our minds are so powerful. I just did a race a week ago.
Yeah, I saw that.
A half Ironman. And I was so nervous to do the swim for weeks, days. And then the morning of, and we get there, it's like pitch dark still. It's so early in the morning. And I'm like, my heart's racing. I'm nervous. It's a long swim. And then the sun starts to rise. The sunrise came up and it was gorgeous. And it's an ocean swim. And I just was like, wow, this is beautiful. This is going to be a beautiful race. I'm excited to do this. Like, I can't wait this is going to be a beautiful swim. I get in the water. I'm swimming. I'm nervous, but I keep telling myself, this is such a beautiful swim. I'm so glad to be here.
Yeah.
And I just, within minutes, was stoked and just so happy and just fully enjoyed it. It was my favorite part.
That's awesome.
Of the race, just because I'm shifting your mindset.
Yeah. How was the race?
It was insane.
Yeah.
It was awesome. Yeah.
It looked cool.
Hardest thing I've ever done. But.
That's incredible. Have you ever done something like that before?
I did an Olympic triathlon.
Okay.
10 years ago was the last time I did one. And it was in Hawaii. So it's about half, it is half of what this race was.
Okay.
And that was extremely difficult. So this one was yeah, easily the hardest thing I've ever done, but the most rewarding.
Yeah.
And brought me to a whole nother level of conditioning that I didn't think was possible. I just turned 36 right before the race. And so I like to do a physical challenge every year for my birthday. So instead of going out and drinking and partying, I like to do some kind of physical challenge. Last year I went to Peru, hiked Machu Picchu, which was pretty crazy.
Wow.
Sometimes I'll do a surf trip, just depends.
Okay. That's awesome. I'm always so curious how people get into stuff like that. Like you started in sales, you were really good at it. You were still doing like the partying thing. And now like you work in nutrition and like we got to get there still and how all of that happened. But I'm like, were you always into fitness and doing stuff like that? Or how did that become such a big part of your life?
Yeah. So I have always been into fitness.
Yeah.
I'm lucky and grateful to say that I had excellent parents that had me playing soccer since I was 4. So I've always been into some kind of sport since I was literally 4. Yeah. My dad had me surfing when I was 6. We lived across the street from the beach. So again, super grateful for that. Yeah. For me, sports has always been a focal point of my entire life. I'm super competitive. I thoroughly enjoy sports. When I started the first business, there were times where I worked over a year straight with no days off and didn't have time for any sports. And you start to, for example, I was living in Illinois, like near Chicago, really bad weather, that.
Yeah.
Being in Wisconsin. I'm like, am I depressed because of the weather? Am I depressed because I haven't been outside because I'm not playing sports? So when I was training for this half Ironman, being outside, I hadn't been outside training a lot. I've been lifting weights and stuff. Being out, just going on a run outside, going to run club, which we both go to. You're riding your bike for 2 hours, 3 hours, just those endorphins and just being outside and just back into an athletic sport just puts me in such a happy place. So for me, it's something where I've been competitive, but also inherently I'm just way happier when I'm doing some kind of sport.
Yeah. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Being down here is the best thing ever for that type of thing because you can't necessarily run outside in Wisconsin during the winter.
Yeah.
It's just too freaking cold and it's beautiful here in the winter and it's like my favorite thing to do is go run in like the mornings when it's really chilly. It's awesome and it makes you 10 times happier because even if like up north, if the sun's out and it's still like negative 10 degrees outside and you still like it's still gloomy to a point and it's just like I can't keep doing this.
Or you leave just clothes just freezes if it's outside. There was like the polar vortex that one year.
Yes. I was in school during that. We still had to go to class.
It's gnarly.
That's fine. Okay, so getting back on track where we left off, you were 25 when you got fired from that job?
Yes.
Okay. Is that when the business came?
Yeah. So I got fired and I didn't know what I was going to do. And that's when I went to Mexico and I run into these guys and it was like serendipitous, right? It was like an act of grace, if you will. It was just crazy. Talked to them and basically they said, we've got X amount of stores. We want to expand. And I told them that I was interested. And we went back home, digested it, thought about it. And one of the partners didn't have as many stores as the other 2. And so him and I were really negotiating because he had 3 stores. The other guys had a bunch. And so his name was Cody. So Cody was like, I need a partner. If you move to Louisiana, that's where I want to open up my next stores. We'll be 50-50 partners. I'll put up all the money. Wow. And, you got to go run it and do all the work, sweat equity. Yeah. And he'll take 100% of the profit until I pay him back. And then once I pay him back, we're partners 50-50 forever. And so I loved that structure. Yeah. And I moved out there, didn't know what I was doing, didn't have a place to live. I literally arrived New Year's Eve. Went out with the Cajun vibes of Louisiana, not knowing anyone, and had one last night of partying on New Year's Eve and loved it. It was such a culture shock, but I again, with changed my mentality of love to be here. Mm-hmm. It was the best time ever. The next day I went to Walmart, bought an air mattress, started searching for apartments, couldn't find one until January 2nd, moved into a really, for lack of a better term, shitty apartment. And my living room was a dance floor, meaning I had no furniture.
Perfect.
I had all my books and my TV and my air mattress, and that was pretty much it. We opened up the first location in Louisiana and I freaking crushed it.
Nice.
I'm pretty sure I paid him back in 4 to 5 months, which was insane because normally it could take anywhere from 1 to 2 years.
Yeah.
So we were really profitable, really successful, and that was almost like a test for me, I think, to see if it was something that I'd be good at or I could do, and it just propelled me into being successful with them.
Yeah.
So,
what do you think made it so successful that quickly?
well, I think first of all, the business model that they had set up was really great. I learned a lot from them and specifically from Cody. But then, I mean, you can have the nicest looking store, the best supplements, and the greatest process of how you work with customers. But if you don't have the right people, So, first of all, I grinded. I didn't take, like I told you, I didn't take a day off for the first, I think, year and a half actually, except for mandatory days off like Christmas and 4th of July and stuff like that. But then the people that I hired, the way I led them was directly correlated to how I was led by my mentor at the last company.
Okay.
With a style of just absolute servant leadership and just that's, if I were to sum it up, it's just like straight servant leadership and basically allowing them to creating a culture of trust where, a lot of people want to feel bought into what they're doing and have responsibility and not just be told, do this, do this, do this. They want to feel creative. They want to feel part of decisions. And so just in creating that culture was huge. And we just had a really good staff and a really good team.
Yeah, that's all. I think people my age really crave that. And that's a big problem with Gen Z that's come out a lot recently. People are firing Gen Z because they're lazy and this kind of thing. And I think the lower part of it might be, I don't know. But I think people crave that type of community in their job. We don't want to go to our 9 to 5 and just be told, do that. I mean, I've never wanted to do that. I've never been interested in that. And I think that's why I've gone down this route. But that type of thing is what people look for. And that's, you've experienced it, how you get people to stay and build that culture. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So, okay. You didn't get any of the profits until you paid him back.
Yeah.
So you weren't making any money.
So he paid me a really small salary.
Okay.
At the time. So I think I was making $30K or something like that, which I was making $100K at my last job. Yeah. I had a BMW and nice stuff and bills to pay. So I was used to triple that. Yeah. And then move into a third of that pay. So I remember even budgeting. I was I have $20 a day for food. Awesome. Okay, so I'm gonna have protein pancakes twice a day and Chick-fil-A once. Sweet. Okay. How were you so bought into that? Going from this lifestyle, and I know you got fired, but could you have gone to a different company and done the same thing and made close to as much money versus coming here and taking a huge pay cut and just having that belief? How did you? Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah. No one's ever asked me that. Yeah. So it's, I for sure could have. Yeah. I easily could have hopped to another company and made similar money. I could have went into another industry and made even I could have went into software sales, which all my friends were doing, Salesforce and stuff like that. Medical device sales, you name it, right?
Yeah, my dad does that.
Yeah. So for me, it was a combination of two things. One, I sat down and talked to my dad about it, my dad is a straight entrepreneur. And he looked at me and he said, you need to go do this. You're young. You're in your early 20s. Now's the time to take the risk. If you fail You can always come back, get another job.
Yeah.
It's that simple, dude.
Yeah.
Go do it.
Yeah.
Like literally it is that simple. Like now I'm 36. I would not probably do the same thing. I would keep the safe job, but I'm 25. It's go do it. You're young. Like now this is the time to take risks but I didn't even know that it would be my passion, right? The second part was I had such a bad taste in my mouth for what happened to me.
Yeah.
I worked my butt off for that company. I ran through walls for them. I'm relocated to an area I didn't want to relocate to. I left everything just to be fired, no severance, let go. So it was almost like a rebellious, like, I'm going to show the world what I can do on my own. Kind of just, I couldn't imagine working for someone else again.
Yeah.
After being treated like that.
Yeah.
And like I was telling you, my director at the time was one of the worst leaders ever. My mentor, who was like a little bit above me, but still under the director, was one of the best leaders. So I look at it as like a silver lining. If you ever have like a really bad boss, take it as like a learning experience and say, wow, these are all the things that I never want to be. Right. So not only did I have good leadership in my past, but then you have really bad leadership. So when I went into running my own store, running my own business, I understood how it felt to be treated in a certain way. So I was like, I'll never treat my people that way. And so some of like the founding principles of the company that we have today is a lot based on learning experiences from bad leadership.
Yeah.
And you got to take that as like a silver lining that you like learn something. It's like when you're in a relationship, you know, if you have a bad breakup or something bad happens to you or you make a mistake, it's, you hopefully can learn from that and become a better person for the next relationship or next job. Yeah.
That's where growth happens in any situation that you're in. If you're able to look at it from all sides, even if you were in the wrong, and take that and learn from it, that's where you start to grow and find that fulfillment and that happiness in life. And I went through like a similar thing. I worked for Starbucks in college, freaking hated it, hated working for them. But they paid for my school, so I like had to stick it out. But I told myself like that last year, I was like, I'm so grateful for what they do, and I'm so grateful for everything I'm learning here on who I do not want to work for after school, and what kind of business I don't want to work for, and what kind of boss I don't want to work for, and if I even want a boss type of thing. And like I did have a couple good managers, but it was like the higher up corporate type of thing. I was like, oh, absolutely not. And I could have gone down the road and been like, Starbucks sucked and I hated that and that was the worst time of my life. But instead, you can look at it like, okay, yeah, I mean, it was tough, but A, I have no student debt, and B, now I know exactly what I want to do outside of school, who I want to work for, what kind of person I want to be, and move forward with that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So now you're working like business partner with this guy, Louisiana. Okay, we're in South Carolina, and you do Supreme Nutrition. So where's that gap?
Yeah, so that was my first store, was in Shreveport, Louisiana, which is funny because I'm from LA, and I dated this girl for 4 years in high school, and she moved from Shreveport, Louisiana. No one else was from that area, and she had like this thick Southern accent. She was so cute and so funny. And she was from Shreveport, and that's the only thing I'd ever heard of Shreveport. And I think there's like some vampire show that's in Shreveport. Okay. But besides that, so I was like, I'm moving to Shreveport. That's so funny. That was where my first girlfriend was from. Anyways, so I ran that store, was really successful. It went so well that we opened a second store 15 minutes away across the bridge in this city called Bossier City, Louisiana, and then was really successful there. And so that was in 2015 into 16. And then, long story short, between the four of us, from that time period up until about the end of 2018. So when I got involved, I believe there was like anywhere, I think roughly 12 locations total. And by the end of 2018, we had it over 60 locations.
Wow.
And it wasn't franchised. We never took out loans. It was all like cash flow and success. The the three of them started a supplement brand where they manufactured supplements that we sold in our stores. So it like gave us great products with like also really good margins.
Yeah.
Which I didn't own a part of. And then at the end of 2018, as a group, they had decided to blend and merge all the stores into one LLC. So prior to it, it's like every store we opened was a separate LLC, right? So like when me and Cody opened a store, it was like me and Cody were 50-50. They didn't have a part of it.
Yeah.
They opened stores. And so the mentality was, well, if we blend it all into one LLC, we now all don't have to wear a million hats. We can double down on our strengths and all have different positions.
Yeah.
And so like we created this umbrella company. The supplements were part of that. And so I got to own now the supplement company in all 60 plus stores, but I was like the lowest percentage equity, which was fine. I was like super grateful. And my role at that company was, I was like the director of training and development. So my strength was to go to the stores that were underperforming, the teams that had bad culture, and go fix it. Or if we were doing a new store, I was really good at like getting the store to be popular and take off really quick and get a staff trained really quick.
Yeah.
So that's what I would do. And then in between those times where there's no store to fix or no new store, I would sit in the office. We had an office in Austin, Texas. And I would develop like we had a training platform that people could access online or an app. And I would develop like new training, just all kinds of training strategies so that, you know, instead of having to, I can't be in every store, but if we have it like documented, they can study it and learn it. So did that up until, so that's like the end of 2018. Now we merge it. We buy a corporate office in Austin. And then now we can hire a marketing team, an accounting team. We can get, health insurance for employees. And so now we're like a legit bigger company.
Yeah.
We had a gym in our office. We had like saunas and steamers. It was just sick.
Nice.
Not steamers, sauna. But it was really cool. And so did that for 2019 and then into 20. And then in 2020, you know, I had been working mostly like in the office, and I'm used to for so many years being in the stores, working with clients, working with the teams. And now I'm just like in not a cubicle, but in my own office, just bored behind a desk. And I'm not built for that. Like, you know, so I think my partners could tell I was unhappy, and we were playing around at the time with the idea of selling the company to private equity and had several offers on the table for like substantial offers.
Yeah.
And that was looking like it was going to be a definitive outcome. And so luckily Cody, my business partner, had come and talked to me. You could tell I wasn't happy, and brought up the idea of them buying me out from my equity and just saying, hey, you can go move on, start your own company, do something else that you'll be happy with. And so we went through like negotiations with that, and long story short, they were generous enough to buy me out, and it was a huge thing for me. I'm living in Austin, and so I have a business partner, Luke. Yeah. So Luke was working with this company at the time. So Luke, I hired him when he was a student at University of Illinois, and so we had a store in Champaign, Illinois, and then Luke graduates, turns down his job offer to work in finance, and stays working for like hourly pay in the Champaign store with the thought of like, I want to own a store like this. He like knew right away that's what he was, just like so driven and so focused. And so he became a manager and then a district manager. So he was like a district manager for the whole Midwest and was really successful. And him and I over the years got really close. He was like a little brother to me. We were like best friends, you know? And so I had told him the whole time, like, you know, one day you and I will do a business together. Well, the time had come, right? So I'm getting bought out of my equity, and I said to my business partners, I was like, hey, like for this deal to go through, like I'm taking Luke with me. And they're like, no, you can't. He's got a non-compete. And so, which made sense. I mean, the optics would have looked really bad if they just let him leave. Yeah. So we came to an agreement where I would just like buy him out of his non-compete, like athletes get bought out of their contracts, right? So we bought him out of his non-compete. He leaves with me. So now I'm like living in Austin. I was engaged prior. Really? I owned a house. Okay. Had 2 dogs, lived, you know, life with her, and I obviously aren't together anymore. We broke up in 2019. So now I'm like single, don't have a job, and like, all my friends are in California, pretty much my family's in California.
Yeah.
Why am I in Austin? I don't know what I'm going to do. Me and Luke are trying to decide where we want to open up our next venture, like to start this business. And I had a non-compete with them, so I couldn't open up in any locations where they're at. So we look at the map, and the Southeast is wide open, the SEC. So we're like, University of Georgia, that's a good football team. Let's go check out Athens.
Yeah.
So we fly out to Athens, and we're blown away by the community and the city. And we're like, this place would crush. All they have is GNC and Vitamin Shop. Like, this is a home run. So then that's how we decided to do our first location. And then we get to Clemson and Greenville, and all that. We didn't even know about these cities.
Yeah.
We just opened up one, because you can't go with the mindset of we're going to have 20 stores and we're going to crush it. That's so cocky. It's like, we got one store to do and one store to do only. And if we're not successful, then we fail.
Yeah.
We got everything to prove, like head down, grind. And so we opened up Athens. So you got to think, like, I'm the director of training for like 60 stores. Luke's the DM for like the whole Midwest. The two of us aren't ever just like running a store, like two managers every day, open to close. Is so much firepower. Yeah. So that's what we did. So it's like, we crushed it. Yeah. It was awesome. It's like two Bash Bros just working together. And we had a great time, and we like broke so many records with that store, like 10-year records. And then we like just drove up the 85 North, and wow, we stopped in Greenville. Oh my God, this is like a mini Austin, Texas. This is such a cool town. And so it just kind of naturally happened to where we would open a store like every hour and a half north as you go up.
Wow.
So
what store number was Greenville?
Greenville was number 2.
Number 2. And
that was a little aggressive, because we signed that lease actually before Athens. So we negotiated some free rent. So we basically said we're going to open them up 4 months apart. And worst case scenario, if Athens is not doing well, we can split up, and we both are capable of running a store by ourselves.
Yeah.
But luckily we didn't have to do that. So
okay. And now how many locations are there?
We just opened our 6th in Panama City, Florida.
Very cool. And is it just still you and Luke doing the whole thing together? And then obviously there's people underneath you for each store.
Yeah. So the way that we set up the business was really interesting. So Luke was an employee, obviously, the whole time at our last company, and I was an owner. So we had two different perspectives. So his perspective was more of like, how does it feel when decisions are made from the top, and how do the employees, how does he feel, his team feels? So he had like insight on that. Yeah. I had insight on like ideas and stuff that I wanted to do that I wasn't able to do, or ideas that did work, that I got to see like the framework of how it was built and what made it successful. And so we founded Supreme Nutrition with two like really founding principles. One is, when we say we're going to do something, we do it. And number 2 is, we're going to always be transparent, not greedy, generous, and like give back to our people. And so with the way we set it up is, our managers and assistant managers can earn equity towards the business. They earn like a certain amount of points for certain things. And then once they hit a certain amount of points, they become an owner in the business. Nice. And so it's very black and white. Nobody in the organization is wondering where they stand. They always know, I'm this far along to become an owner. Every 6 months they get a performance review, and they know exactly how much their pay is going to go up based on what they did. It's very black and white. There's no biased opinion of, she's crushing it, or he's tight, or whatever. Like, we should give them a raise because I like them. It's really just, no, this is what gets you a raise, and this is what gets you a promotion, and this is what gets you to owner. So to answer your question, over the last this January will be 4 years, we now have 2 people that have become owners. Okay. So our Rock Hill location, there's a guy named Ty. He was managing Greenville before Anna. Anna was his assistant manager, and him and Anna and the team that they were with were outstanding, crushed every metric, and Ty became our first owner. Nice. So the way that works is, we'll talk to them and say, what market works for you? Where would you be comfortable living? They'll move to that city. We'll put up all the money. They'll get to own 50% of it. Wow. We take 100% of the profit. Same deal, right? Yeah. That's what I did with Luke. That's what we do with Ty. Yeah. So it's just a good system, and it's so fair and so generous. But so Ty owns Rock Hill, and he's not capped. He can own more stores, but you got to break even and do some other metrics. And then recently we had Austin Crow. He was our manager in Athens. So he just hit all those metrics and he moved out to Florida. So he owns 50% of that.
Nice.
So basically me and Luke are like 25, and then they own the majority of it. But the deal is they have to run it.
Yeah.
We're not going to run it. Like, they're capable. They've worked their way up in our system and know what to do. And we trust them and believe in them. And so our mentality is we could open up 20 stores with just Luke and I, and we can own 50-50. How well are they going to perform?
Right.
Or we give the opportunity of ownership to so many people. And I like to say, like, the high tide raises all the ships. So I'd rather own, less of something way better and bigger and more meaningful than 100% of something way smaller.
Yeah.
And, our turnover is really low. We've, up until recently, in just one location, we had like no one quit for 3.5 years, which allows us to have really talented people to work with. Yeah. Which allows our clients to build relationships with people that work there. And it just creates a system that's just unbeatable and just so great. And we couldn't be where we are today without our people. It's awesome.
Yeah, that's incredible. I've never heard of a system like that. But I think, to your point about your, I forgot what you call them, but like your core values, essentially, that I think that's so important in anything that you do if you want it to be the best that it can be. I worked with First Form while I was in college. I was a Legionnaire, and that was the first thing I learned was their core values, and that you like that's the end all be all. Like, you have to abide by these core values, and not even within a company, but within yourself too. And that's how you grow and allow people around you to grow and just become bigger and better, is having that like standard line there. Yeah. So I love that you said that. Yeah,
I love First Form is incredible. I've toured their facility twice and met Andy and Sal Frisella.
I saw you were at Fall Fest. I was so super jealous.
They're unreal. Like, they do like self audits on a daily basis of their core values, and they have some great ones. Those are like what I was talking about was like our founding principles. Yeah, principles. But really, like, our core values as a company. Number one is extreme ownership, which comes from a book by Jocko Willink, and it just really resonates with our company and our leadership style. And then, second one is obsessed with results. And that could be results from the business, but more importantly, being obsessed with our clients' results and helping people get healthier. Yeah. Be all in, which is a good one. Yeah. That's, be all in, love what you do and who you do it with, right? Yeah. And just be all in. If you're not passionate about this, like, you're not going to want to do it. Right. And then the fourth and probably the most important is community mindset. And so getting more involved in the community where we can really make an impact, not only in people's health, but whether we're doing something as small as picking up trash or feeding the homeless or doing a charity or just anything that we can do to like make an impact. If we, as our footprint grows, we are lucky enough to work with so many people per day, and like that body of work over time can really like help change a community for the better. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's what's so special about Greenville to me, is the community here. For sure. And coming from a really small town in Wisconsin, and then I lived in a bigger city, La Crosse, but even there, like, I knew everybody, but I still never felt that sense of community that I do here. Like, going into a nutrition shop there, I didn't know anybody. I worked in the fitness space. I worked in the gyms. I didn't know them. They didn't know me. They never came in. But like, joining Run Club in July, just from July till October, the amount of people you meet, and like, I went into Supreme like twice, and I remember the second time I went in, Anna already knew my name and who I was, and I was like, I don't know anybody in this city. I'm not from here, but I can walk into Supreme or Run Club or, anywhere else here. And if I've gone there more than once, they know who I am. And I think that's a super important thing to stand by. And that's why I go back to Supreme. Yeah, no, it's awesome. They actually care, She actually cares. And the whole staff, it's great to just, when I get to work with them, it's amazing. Yeah. I love it. Yeah. It's always fun in there too. Like, it's never a dull moment walking in there. Yeah. Yeah. True. Like a TV show. Yeah. Like The Office. Yeah.
So looking back on your 20s, I'm trying to go down like a different route a little bit now because like I was talking to my dad about this the other day. Like I love learning about people and their stories and having them shed advice and stuff, but I want to have more concrete things for my listeners to be like, okay, like I can go apply that, you know, like motivation is amazing. I love motivation. I love mindset. I love that, like, you know, hoorah stuff, like get hyped up, listen to David Goggins speak. But like that, you're here and then it kind of goes like here without actionable steps. So if you were to like look back on your 20s or talk to somebody in their 20s, what, like, how do I phrase this? If like I'm sitting here, I'm like, I want to be super successful. What do I need to be doing right now? Like, what would you tell them to be focusing on, to maybe take actionable steps towards, to go learn or see or be, like that type of thing?
Yeah. Well, not saying all your listeners do this, but the first thing I would say is, I mean, obviously like drinking, don't do drugs, but like drinking alcohol is so bad. So that's only going to hold you back from your like physically, but also in your career, your money. So if you're like really young and in your 20s, like of course, like enjoy life, party and stuff, but really limit it and try to focus more on working out and like making yourself healthier. Learn how to cook. Learn how to learn how to meal prep. I didn't even really understand the concept of meal prep till I was like 25.
Yeah.
Like, you know, learn how to like do these things, you know, wake up early, you know, don't stay up late, wake up early, like figure out like a routine for your life to, first of all, get your health in check. That's number one. Once you can start like, you know, waking up early, eating healthy, working out, now you're going to feel better. You're not going to be like sad or depressed. You're going to be happy. You're just going to feel better in life. Yeah. That's number one. Number two would be, you know, if you have thought about taking a risk as far as work goes, whether it's starting something you ever wanted to start, starting something that you've always wanted to start, jumping into something, like I would say go for it while you're young. Like that's the time to do it. And also like, you don't have to start a podcast, but talking to people that you find interesting or that you see as successful, just go up to them and ask them if you can like ask them for advice, talk to them, like pick their brain. Like, what do you like most regret? What do you like what you're doing right now? Yeah. Right. So this is so important. I wish I would have done this. I would invest in the stock market when I was younger and don't look like, just put the money in, don't look at it. Yeah. Just being just all these cliche things, I guess, but really they're not, because if you don't hear them when you're younger, you don't do them.
Right. Yeah. It's cliche because it's real. Like I always say that, like if I'm talking to somebody or if I try and do a solo episode, which they never really turn out great because I could just go on and on and on about random stuff. And I'm like, I'll say something. I'm like, well, that was cliche. Well, because it's true. You know, you got to listen to that kind of thing. It's the boring stuff that you do consistently.
I mean, yeah, really like the biggest thing for me was like, I wish I would have just saved more money when I was younger and been more responsible. And I always worked out. I've always been in shape, but like just done that better. And then I was lucky to have that opportunity come. But if you have opportunities to where you can like, you know, take a risk and try something new, do it. I would also recommend leaving your hometown and moving somewhere that putting yourself like, that could be uncomfortable, but right, it's all in your head that's making you uncomfortable. Yeah. But stepping outside your comfort zone, go live somewhere different. Even if you want to come back home, like go live somewhere different for a year. Yeah. Especially whether you went to college or didn't go to college, if you stayed in state or near home, it's really cool to like broaden your horizons and like learn more about like a different area, meet different people, get different perspectives, go live somewhere different. I think is really cool. I've lived in 23 states. Wow. And it was like, so what I've learned is just so many different cultures, but I definitely never want to live in the Midwest. No offense. And I never want to live in the Northeast. But I found that I could absolutely live like near the beach on the West Coast, in Texas, or in the Southeast. I like a lot, especially Florida. Yeah. But just like learning so many different things, like you know. Yeah. Yeah.
Go chase something. You know. You don't. Yeah. Don't stay comfortable.
Like I think COVID was a good example of, you know, we were all stuck in our houses and it's like, what did you do during COVID? Did you try to learn some new stuff. Obviously you're not going to be like studying and learning all day. You're going to relax a little bit, but there's people that just drank and just got hammered the whole time. There's people that played video games the whole time. And then there's people that taught themselves something on the internet or learned an instrument or a language or just being productive. So taking those opportunities to be productive. And if you can, the younger you can do that, the better off you'll be. There's no perfect answer. You can do anything, but it's like, just really invest in yourself and invest in your health.
Yeah. And like you have full control over how you perceive whatever situation you're in. Like you said with COVID, what you do with a seemingly really scary time, confusing time, unknown time, that's your choice. I talk about it with my family all the time. That was our favorite time because we all moved back in. That was probably the last time we'll ever all live together, the four of us. And we loved it. We like had a little book club. Like I got my CPT, my sister and I were in school. Like we made the most of it. Whereas like you said, you could have very easily just said F it and drink all day and this sucks and woe is me. And I think that's that way with every situation you're in.
Yeah. And if you did do that during COVID, like, not the best decision, but it doesn't mean you can't do something great right now.
Right. Exactly.
But there's never a wrong time. If you are like, shit, I've been drinking for the last 3 years. I'm 24. I'm screwed. It's like, no, you're not. You could start right now.
Yeah.
You could start right now.
Yeah.
Everything changes.
Yeah. Never too late.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Cool. I like that. I could stay here. I could do this all day.
Yeah.
All right. So I think that's a really great place to kind of wrap up.
Sure.
But do you have any ending thoughts or anything else you wanted to say that you didn't get to?
Not really. No, I feel like it was, that was awesome.
Okay.
I really appreciate you having me on and, this was really cool. I feel like I got to tell a little bit more of my story that I've never told. And we dove deeper into the younger years, which was really cool.
Yeah. So. I appreciate you sharing all of that. Where can people support you social media wise?
Yeah. So we have, it depends what city you're in, but if you're in Greenville, the Instagram is Supreme Nutrition Greenville. Mm-hmm. We're located on Woodruff Road, just next door to Restore and Viva Chicken. And we have a store in Athens, Clemson, Rock Hill, South Carolina, which is right outside of Charlotte, Wilmington, North Carolina, which is near Wrightsville Beach, and then Panama City, Florida. But just come on by. The staff's really cool. A lot of people think our stores are this bro bodybuilder type muscular shop, and it's really not. I mean, we are if you run a sales report, I believe it's 60% of our clients are female.
Really?
The majority, not the majority, but a good amount of what we do is just overall health, weight loss. We'll write you a free meal plan. Yeah. Whether you buy something or not, we have a body composition machine. Mm-hmm. I mean, we really just care about having people leave with all the tools to succeed, not just buying supplements. And I think a lot of women are really surprised when they come in. We have so many supplements that are outstanding for females and for overall health, hormones, everything. So, I encourage you to stop by, and if you have any goals, wants, and needs with your fitness and health, that's what we're here for. So
awesome. Well, I'll put Greenville's in the show notes for everybody, for our local listeners, and then they can go from there. But thanks again. This was great.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.